Colour pop photography, or isolating a single colour in your images, is a great way of getting your frames to jump off the page. Yes, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, and that reason is people love it. Here I've got the perfect colour pop candidate, this bright red X phone box, now repurposed to being a defibrillator station. And what we're going to do is get this picture in, render everything around the side of this phone box black and white, and then leave that kind of really bright red in there. And it's going to absolutely jump out at people. This is going to be seriously vibrant. The trick with the photography is pretty simple. We just want our subject to be bright enough. So I'm going to tap on it and then also drag up a bit, blowing out the sky and getting that phone box looking nice and bright. And then from there, we're going to open it up in our app. Now, there are lots of different apps that do exactly the same thing. I particularly like this one because it's a bit more technical. So it allows you to be quite precise with this effect, and that generally is going to mean that you're going to end up with a better looking image. The other benefit is that if you can see on this frame here, we have these red flowers over here. A totally automated colour pop effect is probably going to end up with a red phone box and some red flowers, which isn't quite the effect that we want. And the important thing to remember about this app is that every edit that we make stacks on top of the one before, and eventually what that will let us do is cut out our phone box and give it that kind of colour pop effect. So the first thing to do here is to give this image even more saturation, which I think we'll do here with the accentuate filter. There we go. If you've ever seen anything as luminous as that, we'll hit go on that, and then under tools, black and white, we're going to find a black and white treatment that has lots of contrast, which I think is probably that one, and we'll hit go on that as well. Now from here, we'll go up to the edit history of the image, and here you can see this is all of the different edits that we've made, and what we want to do is cut through this phone box to the very well saturated bright red version underneath. So we'll hit the brush there, we'll hit invert as well, and what we're going to do as we paint over the image that's cutting through our black and white frame to the colour one below, we'll zoom in a bit because you do want to be pretty accurate here, because if you're sloppy with your colouring in, what you will end up with is lots of kind of a sort of a halo effect behind, which is going to look pretty clumsy. So there we go. I have to say my fingers are not the best candidates for this, but I think we're doing a passably neat job of it. Just get those edges in there, try not to spill over on the wall too much, and then we're going to hit the OK button on that, and let's see what we've got. This is a pretty good example of an interesting subject done very boringly. As you can see, we've got this lovely bit of local historical character here in the phone box, but the light's really flat, the sky's really overexposed, it just doesn't jump out at us. It was almost as if this frame was purpose built for colour pop. This frame here gives you a really good sense of what exactly colour isolation or colour pop can be used for, and you can see that we've sort of got the right sort of idea. You can also see in this picture, if you zoom in a bit, why I'm not allowed to do any of the painting in my house, because it's very clumsy. When we're masking out by hand, you can see that I've missed this edge completely, and then I've compensated by totally overspilling on the other edge, and consequently this wall back here has a nice splash of colour to it that just shouldn't be there. It's a really good example of why, when you're doing this way, you want to be zoomed in on your image. You want to be doing things kind of as neatly as possible, because otherwise, particularly with a frame like this, if you print it, those little mistakes will be incredibly obvious. This frame, I think, sums up perfectly what this kind of cliche colour pop photography is all about. Lovely subject, neatly cut out against this nice kind of rustic building here, all in black and white. If I zoom in a little bit, I can see that the cutout is pretty neat there, so this image is going to stand up well to people kind of inspecting it. This is also quite a good example if you pay attention to these flowers over here, which are roughly the same colour as my phone box. A good example of why a fully automated colour pop app might not have done such a neat job, because I think what might have happened is that it would have got this phone box basically correct against its background, but I think it would have picked out these flowers as well, which would have been a bit untidy. So it's a good example of why using a manual mask is the best approach.